Welcome back to A World Gone Mad, the podcast where the headlines get stripped down, beaten with a rubber chicken, and tossed into the flaming dumpster that is modern democracy. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf, your spiritual tour guide through this decaying theme park of late-stage capitalism, where nothing works, nobody's in charge, and the cotton candy costs $17. This is WTF Wednesday, the midweek meltdown where I stop pretending I'm holding it together, and I start calling this circus exactly what it is: a corrupt, bloated, spinning toilet bowl of greed, cowardice, and denial. And we're circling the drain with a smile on our face and an American flag in one hand. This is your first time joining me? Welcome. You're either deeply awake or permanently pissed off. Either way, you're in the right place, because I'm not here to coddle you, distract you, or soothe your nerves with bipartisan baby powder. And I'm sure as hell not here to echo headlines and chase clicks or likes that some of the other podcasters do for attention. This is WTF Wednesday, where I don't screw around, the gloves are completely off, I'm caffeinated to the max, because these stories aren't about just politics. This is a full-scale attempt to rewrite America in real time. WTF, what the fuck is going on? And why the hell are we pretending it's normal? I discussed this on this past Monday's episode, and if you haven't listened to it yet, you should, because this episode will be completely out of context without that episode. On Monday's episode, I talked about seemingly unrelated stories that, when connected, pointed to something much bigger and far more sinister taking shape. That was Act 1. This episode, this is Act 2. So grab a drink, hold on to your woogies, and say goodbye to your last ounce of sanity, because it's time for another WTF Wednesday. So this past Monday, like I said, I talked about the newly federalized D.C. police, and I asked you, what's the next damn step? Well, Wolfpack listeners, today we're staring down the barrel of the answer. The Pentagon is cooking up something so authoritarian you'll want to double-check your XYZ coordinates just to make sure you're still in America. Internal documents reveal a proposal for a domestic civil disturbance quick reaction force, a mouthful. What that is 600 National Guard troops, 300 in Alabama, 300 in Arizona, ready to deploy within an hour anywhere in the United States. Under Title 32, they'd stay technically under state control, but federally funded, effectively giving the nutcake president a nationwide army on standby. Let's break down the dystopia. 600 soldiers, full combat gear, on call 24/7. Think of it as Trump's personal Praetorian Guard, except scarier, because this one's not fig-leafed as security. It's militarized law enforcement disguised as readiness. The budget, hundreds of millions of dollars. Guess who's paying for it? We are. And if it gets budgeted in 2027, expect creative accounting or off-books funding to make it happen sooner. Supreme convenience for the executive in charge. The 90-day rotation of rapid mobility via commercial flights means you won't see them coming until they're wearing riot gear in your neighborhood. Legal red flags everywhere. Scholars warn, normalizing military on home turf is a line you don't want to blur. Here's one ominous quote from the Brennan Center, who said, "When you have this tool waiting at your fingertips, you're going to want to use it." That tool is a loaded cannon aimed squarely at your right to protest. Federalism? Who needs it? Governors and mayors slap back. Maryland's governor already said he would refuse participation. But guess what? Title 32 gives the Pentagon wiggle room to federalize state troops regardless. Think about it. Troops prepped to quash your protests, assault civil liberties, and enforce with martial precision, all under the guise of readiness. It's not some sci-fi flick. It's this administration's playbook, version 2.0. In short, it's not about keeping the streets safe at all. It's about silencing dissent, crushing political theater before it starts, and erecting the infrastructure for authoritarianism, one militarized deployment at a time. And there you have it. Act 2, unveiling the creeping federal muscle that's turning this republic into a reaction force experiment. If this doesn't make you clutch your last shred of sanity and scream, "What the fuck?" then you and I are watching different realities. And if that wasn't enough to make you question whether we're living in a democracy or a dictator's fever dream, let's now target it down with an add-on insanity clause. Because while the Pentagon's building its nationwide quick crush force, Republican Senator John Cornyn says the FBI has agreed in principle to help the Texas GOP track down Democratic lawmakers who fled the state to block a vote. Now let's be clear. As of right now, there's no public confirmation from the FBI. No formal deployment has been reported. This is what's being claimed, what's being discussed, and what could be in motion. But if it does happen, it would mean federal law enforcement stepping into a purely political state dispute. Law enforcement, potentially weaponized for partisan ends. Same creeping federal reach, just with a Lone Star twist. Oh, and this Lone Star twist? It's the part where reality looks at satire and says, "Hold my beer," because the moment you have the FBI, the freaking Federal Bureau of Investigation, even talking about getting involved in a state political pissing match, we've officially jumped the shark, nuked the fridge, and lit the Constitution on fire for warmth. Let's remember, these Democratic lawmakers in Texas, they didn't rob a bank. They didn't hack the Pentagon. They didn't steal the crown jewels. They pulled the oldest protest maneuver in the State House playbook. They left. They walked out to stop a rigged vote. And now we've got a sitting U.S. Senator saying the FBI is on standby to help bring them back like they're fugitives from a Netflix true crime special. And sure, we've got to say it. The Bureau hasn't confirmed a damn thing. The black SUVs have not been spotted. And no formal request has hit the paper yet. But just the idea that this is being floated tells you how far down the authoritarian slip and slide we've gone. It's the normalization of authoritarianism. Now, even on CNN. No, they shouldn't. That's not how a democracy works. That's how you run an empire, where the guy at the top has a badge, an army, and a list. Picture it, listeners. 1 minute you're sipping sweet tea in Austin, Texas. The next minute you've got an FBI task force treating you like you're Pablo Escobar because you didn't vote the way King Donald wanted. This is Banana Republic cosplay with real guns. And the truly sick part, it's not about Texas. It's about precedent. Once you open that door, you could send federal law enforcement anywhere for any political reason. D.C., New York, California. Hell, they'll pop up into your HOA meeting if it pisses off the Oval Office enough. Wolfpack listeners, I said Monday night the D.C. police was Act 1. Next was Act 2 with the Pentagon. And Act 3 just happened. This is Act 3 where the so-called law stops protecting you and starts hunting you. Not because you're dangerous, but because you're inconvenient. And if you thought the creeping reach of power was bad in the abstract, now let's narrow it down to one-on-one time directly looking in the face of insanity. Because it's one thing to talk about nationwide forces and partisan crackdowns. It's another to watch the fear hit a human being in real time, captured on video, as federal agents harass civilians right in the street. Yes, Wolfpack listeners, this is where the creeping authoritarian reach stops being a policy debate and becomes a pair of mirrored sunglasses staring you down in your own neighborhood. I'm talking about an actual video, not deepfake, not satire, shot in Washington, D.C., where Trump's freshly empowered federal agents, including at least one U.S. Park police officer, rolled right up on a group of civilians who are hanging out and smoking. No warrants, no probable cause, just, we're here because we can. And in the video, you hear the agents bark out loud, "Tell your boys," as in spread the word, "the full force of federal law enforcement is on patrol." That's not policing. That is a threat. That's the mafia showing up and telling the shopkeeper, "Nice place you got here. Shame if something happened to it." One witness online called it, "In my lifetime, I don't think I've heard anything more sinister than federal agents looking for quality of life offenses." Another said flat out, "We've been experiencing authoritarianism, and now it's just out in the open." These aren't partisan hacks talking. These are ordinary people realizing in real time that the line between safety and state intimidation has been stomped flat. And let's be honest. This isn't about some smoking violation. This is about sending a message. We're watching you. We can stop you. We don't need a reason. It's authoritarian dress rehearsal, except there's no curtain call because the show doesn't end. This is the textbook definition of chilling effect, where people start policing their own behavior out of fear the state will make an example out of them. Remember, this is the same playbook that we've been tracking. Act 1, police, DC police under federal thumb. Act 2, Pentagon quick reaction forces on standby. Act 3, the FBI sniffing around state political disputes. And now, Act 4 is the moment that faceless, creeping machine bends down, locks eyes with you, and makes sure you know personally who's in charge. Wolfpack listeners, you can wrap this in any language you want, but here's the raw translation. Welcome to a country where the Constitution gets you a pat on the head and the Bill of Rights gets you a suspicious glare from a badge. And speaking of the Constitution, let's throw a sucker punch right to its face. Because it's not enough for this crowd to intimidate you in person. Now they're literally erasing the foundation you're standing on. We're talking about sections of the U.S. Constitution, the actual text, quietly disappearing from official government websites. Not archived, not moved to another location, not updated, gone, deleted, vanished like they never existed. This isn't some typo on page 37 of a PDF. This is core language of our founding document evaporating from the digital record. And here's where it goes from bureaucratic oops to full-blown nightmare fuel. Nobody in power seems interested in fixing it. No urgency, no investigation, no announcement saying, we're restoring it. Just the sound of 100 million digital footsteps walking away while the scaffolding of democracy gets kicked out from under it. This is how you rewrite history without firing a shot. You don't burn the books, you delete them. You don't need to convince people the Constitution doesn't matter. You just make it harder for them to find out what it says. It's the authoritarian sweet spot. Out of sight, out of mind, out of your rights. This is the point where you realize the play isn't to break the law. It's to make sure the law is whatever the people in charge say it is today. Tomorrow, whole different rule book. The old one's already been deleted. And now, let's bring it down to the intimate level, where the assault isn't happening in the streets or buried in the code of a website, but in the places we take our kids on field trips. What do you hear this one? The White House has ordered a review of the Smithsonian's museums and exhibits to make sure they align with a Trump directive. Stop and picture that. Someone is walking through the Air and Space Museum, the American History Museum, the Natural History Museum at the Smithsonian, not to learn, not to be inspired, but with a clipboard deciding which pieces of our shared history fit the narrative and which ones get quietly pulled, edited, or locked away. It's not just an attack on information, it's an attack on memory itself. Museums aren't political rallies. They're supposed to be neutral spaces where history, art, and science speak for themselves. Now we're talking about recurating the national story to flatter one man's ego and erase whatever makes him uncomfortable. Are you kidding me? Are you out of your mind? You're now deciding what we can see in a museum? This is not the country I signed up for. This should not be the land where I'm living now. And if we keep letting this happen, it's going to turn into some Gestapo-like caricature that calls itself a democracy, but functions like a propaganda machine. What the fuck happened to our country, our freedom, our America, our democracy? And why are the Republican leaders and the Democratic leaders not standing up against this? This should be stopped instantly. Instead, it's being allowed to fester, grow, and steamroll us by a delusional nutfuck waste of DNA. I'm standing here as an American citizen, watching this train wreck happen in real time, and I know you, the listeners, are sitting in the same room and the same storm with me. We're not just reading headlines. We're living in the middle of them. Every day there's another brick pulled out of the foundation. The militarization of our streets, the politicizing of law enforcement, the rewriting of history, the deletion of our own founding documents, the censoring of museums. And every day the people who swore to protect this republic either cheer it on or cower in the corner. The Republican leadership, they're not just going along with it. They're kneeling at Donald Trump's feet, polishing his boots, and doing other unspeakable acts to prove their loyalty. Bring in the wet naps. They traded in their spines for proximity to power. They made themselves courtiers in a palace instead of defenders of a nation. And the Democratic leadership, the so-called opposition, half of them are whispering, I don't know what we should do. Like they're debating where to have lunch, instead of standing on the steps of the Capitol with bullhorns, stopping this madness cold. They act like they're afraid of looking mean when the house is already on fire and the arsonist is pouring gasoline on the lawn. This is the state of America right now, an unhinged strongman with a party of enablers on one side, a party of sleepwalkers on the other, and the rest of us, the citizens, left to watch the bulldozer plow through what's left of our rights. We are being conditioned to accept this, to normalize it, to shrug and say, well, what can you do? But here's the truth, Wolfpack listeners. If we keep letting them move the line, pretty soon, there's no line left. We can't afford to wait for some mythical right moment to speak up. The right moment was yesterday. And if we keep waiting, tomorrow will belong entirely to the people who've already decided that your voice, your vote, your very place in this country is theirs to control. We cannot stand silently by and watch this happen. We may not have the reins of power in our hands right now, but I will be damned if I'm going to let them take my country away from me without a fight. I hope you feel the same way. Stand tall, stay loud, scream, yell, argue. Push back to anyone who will listen. This is ridiculous. This is dangerous. And somebody better do something about it now, because if we don't, then tomorrow isn't just lost, it's stolen. And if you give a damn about what I'm talking about, if you give a crap about where this country is heading, then stop sitting in silence. Send me your feedback. Send me your thoughts. Let me know you're out there. Don't be the silent majority watching from the sidelines. I've been putting my heart and energy into this for over a year and a half to bring these issues to you. Now, I'd really like to hear from you. I've heard from new listeners lately, and I appreciate it, but most of my original Wolfpack, the ones who have been here from day one, have stayed silent. I'd like that to change. So here it is again, my direct line to you. You can call and leave a voice message for free, 833-399-9653. Or email me at madworldtalk@gmail.com, madworldtalk@gmail. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you're feeling. Tell me if you agree. Tell me if you don't. Just don't stay silent. Without hearing from you, I'm sitting in a room talking to myself. And that's a lousy, shitty feeling. Also, please leave a review on Apple or Spotify. It's the only way this podcast gets noticed instead of buried. I show up every day to call out people and news for what they are. I don't dress it up. I don't water it down. And I sure as hell don't run things through a filter. This has been A World Gone Mad, Wednesday's WTF edition. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf. I'll be back Friday because someone has to say the shit that no one else will. And apparently, that job's mine. Until then, Wolfpack listeners, stay skeptical, stay focused, but most of all, stay hopeful.